introduction. So let's get started with our college panelists. So my name is David Aldaco. I am an alumni with my undergrad at ASU, and I'm also going to ASU for my graduate program. So if you ever have questions about the undergrad process, most likely we do have our moderators for today that will be answering questions about their experience and also what kind of opportunities there are. But at the same time, if you ever desire to go to graduate school, you can always reach out to me and I could always assist you with that path as well. So let's get started. I'm going to introduce our moderators for today. So we have Letitia Brown. She's an incoming senior at ASU. She'll be studying to be a social worker. Then we have Bianca Ramirez, also an incoming senior, which she'll be double majoring in political science and Spanish. We also have Emily Ramirez, who's also, she's an incoming junior. She'll be majoring in educational studies. And then we have Nicole Herbert. She's also an ASU student. She's an incoming sophomore, so she has more experience of her first year. And also with the transition that occurred this spring 2020 with COVID-19. So we'll touch base on that as well, how we adapted. And then she would also be majoring in digital marketing. So we'll get started off with the questions. We'll get started off with the very first question that most students usually ask us when they speak to us as counselors is, what is your favorite thing about school what's the favorite thing about your school that you are currently attending? And we'll start off with Letitia on that.
Awesome. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the event today. I think one of my favorite things about ASU particularly is just the environment. I personally attend the downtown campus, so it's a little smaller than Tempe. So I absolutely love the environment. And I also just love the people that I was able to meet. I actually was a transfer student from Mesa Community College. So that big kind of move was a bit of a change, but I know like when we head to college, you meet a lot of amazing people that you'll keep in your life for a long time.
Yeah, thank you, Letitia. Yeah, I was a transfer student too, so I see where you're coming from. So you go from a small campus to a big campus, so I do understand how you have to adapt. Bianca, do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you guys for joining us and hearing our stories. Something that I really enjoy about campus has to be the diversity. After being there for 3 years, going on to my 4th year, I can say that it's so interactive that you constantly meet different people, and it really gets you ready for those worldwide views and interaction like around your entire world. So like the community is very diverse. That's something I really enjoy about my campus.
Thank you, Bianca. Emily?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My favorite thing about my school is just all the options that you have available to you. You have so many options in terms of majors that you can explore and discover. So if you're still not 100% sure as to what you might be interested in studying, there's so many options out there. And same for student involvement, like Bianca had mentioned, the diversity on campus. There's just so many different people you get to meet, and the options of clubs and organizations you can get involved with on your campus are just tremendous. So it's really an amazing thing.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. Now we'll go with Nicole.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Just to agree with Letitia, I absolutely love the environment for ASU. I'm studying at the Tempe campus, and I love how big it is, and I love being surrounded by so many people. So definitely the environment.
All right, thank you. All right, so let's to our second question. So this is really important just in case that for all of you who are becoming incoming freshmen, this question was really important for when I was a freshman at ASU. So the question is there anything that you learned about the school you would have wanted to know before you started classes or before committing to your school? We'll start off with Bianca on this one.
I would have want to know from the beginning how much abundance there is for scholarships in regards to study abroad. So that's something that if you're interested in things, just figure out your resources as a student. A lot of the times they do tell you it's there, but just kind of dive in and see what's out there, like the tutoring section. It's so abundant. There are so many things, and at the time, it's probably not the best fit for you, but that doesn't mean that there's not another resource that can help you as well. So really the resources, I didn't really get in touch with those until my junior year. So that's something I wish I would have known more early on.
All right, thank you, Bianca. Now, Emily.
One thing that I learned once I was at ASU was really how many opportunities you have as a student at your age. I mean, just at my school alone, there's opportunities to be a part of like student organizations on campus, to make connections and network with people outside of the campus, to explore and travel. So really, for me, ASU, I chose ASU because it's in state, it was close, it was great. I always loved ASU. I grew up, here in the Valley. But honestly, you guys can go anywhere in the world, and like the options are limitless. So I love that about college and the whole experience. So definitely take advantage of all the opportunities.
Thank you, Emily. And then we'll finish off this question with Nicole.
Yeah, so I learned very quickly was just how much there is to do, like how Bianca and Emily said, there's so many activities and clubs that you can join, and it's really hard to be bored at college. Like, I think you actually have to actively try to be bored, whether it's working on assignments for class or working on projects or just like going out with your friends and things like that. There's so much things to do, and I absolutely love that.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to ask this question to our seniors just because you guys gone through the path of pretty much you're from freshman to senior year. So this question is really important just because there's a lot of difference from your high school professors. Eventually they're called teachers in high school. Now you're going to the new level of professors. So let me ask you guys a question. How approachable are the professors? We'll start off with Letitia on this one.
For sure. So I know when I first went into my freshman classes, I was very nervous and anxious, kind of just that whole new environment type deal. However, professors are very, very approachable. There are, of course, cases, some people like to tell those horror stories, but honestly, all of my professors have been amazing. And they're more approachable than you would think. They provide office hours. So if you're kind of afraid to talk to them in front of the whole class, you can go there one-on-one. One thing that I think it took me a little bit to learn is that professors are here to help us, and so they'll do whatever they can to do that and make us succeed.
Yeah, and then also touch base on that too. I know since you went to the community college route, I did too. What's the difference between ASU and the community college route? Like, are the professors the same? Are they different? What was your experience?
Definitely. So I think everybody's experience is a little bit different. I gotta say, the community college route, since it was such a smaller campus and a little bit smaller classes, a lot of the professors would, it would be easier to get to know them. I know when I went to ASU, you do kind of have to make that extra effort if you're in those bigger classes to go introduce yourself or go visit them during office hours, just so that you can get to know them a little more and so they can get to know you.
Yeah, thank you. And then we'll go with Bianca.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking off of that is like your professors are there to help you. And essentially they're as approachable as you're approachable to them. So if you're, participating in class and engaging in conversation, you have a way better chance of them picking up your name within the first couple of months. And then kind of creating like a bridge for you to go to their office hours. And if that's not something for you, then, have that one-on-one time at their office hours. And it can be as simple as them asking you questions about what major you're doing and why you're doing it for, to then you asking them questions about what's their experience outside of being a professor, what have they been a part of. And those little questions can lead into bigger things like internship possibilities, scholarships, and potentially for you to be more successful in their class too, because you have created more of an environment that you feel comfortable in, trying new things, like asking a question or, taking initiative in certain things as well. So just know that like they might be intimidating because, they do have these well-renowned titles, but at the end of the day, you're working towards that too. So just have a little leap of courage and, just go for it and ask kind of the questions that you need to ask to be where you need to be.
Yeah, thank you. That's really good food for thought too. So this next question, this question is really important just because with COVID-19, eventually we have to adapt to the new normal of going online. And also for students that are going to transition from high school to college, eventually this question is more ideal to ask now. We'll start with Letitia and then we'll head with Nicole, just because Nicole, since you just finished your first year at ASU, you probably have a different experience from Letitia and Bianca, since they have gone through already their 4 years. Eventually they probably have more insight to that. But first, answer the question as to what is the difference between college classes and high school classes, and then we'll transition off to how you as an individual, how did you adapt to the online model, the new normal once COVID started? So we could start off with Nicole, and then we'll transition with Letitia, Bianca, and Emily.
Could you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Yeah. So the question is, what is the difference between the college classes and the high school classes? And now eventually with COVID-19, how did you adapt with the new normal of online classes?
Yeah, so I think one of the major differences that I noticed between high school and college was like how Bianca and Letitia mentioned, you definitely have to go out of your way for office hours and reach out and build those connections and bridges with your professors in college. But in high school, it's more like your teachers are reaching out to you and like making sure that you're on top of your things, and putting you on course to graduate. But in college, it's definitely more so on you to take that initiative, that you're studying, you're doing your homework, you're turning things in on time, that you're asking the questions and finding the proper resources. All of these things are things that you have to find and do for yourself if you want to be successful in college. So that's one of the biggest differences. And then for your second question, you said it was the changing into online classes, correct?
Yeah. How did you adapt with the new model?
I struggled a little bit, but it's definitely really important to keep in mind that communication is key. So making sure that if you have any questions that you're still reaching out to your professors and emailing them. And it's great having professors that communicate as well. I had a few that really didn't talk to us as much, and then I had other ones that would let us know and inform us about every single little thing that was happening. And that was great because since we were seeing them less and less than normal, it was great to know what the teachers were going through at the time and what was making the assignments last longer, why they were changing and things like that. So it was something that helped the transition be a lot smoother. So definitely I recommend that if you start off this semester being in online classes, definitely still reach out to your teachers and try to build those connections with classmates as well as your professors in order to be successful.
Yeah, thank you. And then we'll go with Letitia next.
Definitely. So kind of like Nicole said, so the difference between high school and college classes is you definitely have to be a little bit more independent. However, I think that colleges do provide a lot more resources to make it a lot easier to be more independent. So if you have a single problem, you can always find a resource to help with it. There's always an option, I promise. It just takes a little bit of effort to kind of reach out to different people and figure it out. So yeah, it's just mostly the independence that I think is different. But on that note, it's also you get to create your own schedule and kind of figure out what works for you coming into this like big world. And then to answer your second question about switching to online, I think one of the biggest things was having to advocate for myself. Switching to online was a little more difficult than I anticipated, just because I'm a very people-oriented person and my major is very people-based. So I was in my higher up classes, so a lot of them were like interview-based and things like that. But I think the professors and ASU overall did a beautiful job switching that to an online format. And kind of like Nicole said, like I kind of popped off on email a lot. I would always email my teachers and I wouldn't be afraid to reach out. And a lot of teachers were understanding of the situation at hand. So some due dates would be extended. One thing I definitely learned was just to kind of tell my story, because if I was going through something, if I let my teacher know, they would definitely be more understanding and most likely give you like an extension or help you out any way they could.
Yeah, and then just to ask you an additional question, someone asked it real quick. have you taken online classes before during your 4 years? And can you touch base on that?
Definitely. So I have taken a few online classes with the community college and with ASU. Um, Online classes are a little bit different than the in-person Zoom classes that's happening now because of COVID. Um, they're very heavily like reading based because the professor isn't really on Zoom with you. It's mostly just you, your book, and a couple of PowerPoint slides. So I will be honest, I don't really learn great from that online format type deal because I don't like reading very much. But if you are kind of into that and able to find different resources online, I definitely recommend some online classes.
Yeah, thank you. And then Bianca.
Yeah, okay. So a little bit from the first question, I want to make it to a tip for the students that are going into their freshman year of college. And depending on the situation, how it looks like moving forward, something I know that was really successful for me during my first year is, talking to the people around me, not being afraid to engage in conversations, simply saying like, hi, what's your major? Or those simple conversations, simply because like those people in the end were the ones that kind of kept me on check when I wasn't showing up to class. For whatever reason, I couldn't get up to my 9 a.m. class. They'll text me saying like, hey, where are you? Are you coming today? Or simply help me with like my notes or anything. Like just know that the people in your class are resources too, if you, make it that way of like creating a friendship and a bond with them. So that's one thing that really helps with class settings. In regards to like difference from high school, you see them every day for 5 days a week for the entire school year, to 1 or 2 classes for an hour, not even the full day. So that's something to keep in mind. And then in regards to switching from in-person to online, it was actually very difficult because, like Letitia said, we are very extrovert people. We enjoy having conversation. If we have a question in regards to something we're learning, we like to raise our hands and simply ask like, well, maybe this doesn't really make sense to me, and have that feedback. So that's really difficult, like she said, from online classes, because if you take online classes, they're more of like a PowerPoint presentation that was already pre-recorded, that you don't really get that interaction. So simply the best thing, like they mentioned, is advocate for yourself moving forward. That's one thing that we should all learn, even moving into like the working force as well.
Yeah, thank you. And then Emily, we'll get your experience on this.
My experience is pretty similar to everybody else's. I mean, I myself am also a very people person. I love daily human interaction, so it was very difficult to have kind of suddenly have home and work and school all become one. So kind of finding that separation between all 3 things in my life, and not kind of getting stuck in this little like turmoil of isolation. But other than that, I mean, I think it's something, if anybody is considering to take online courses, whether it's willingly or whether it just so happens because a pandemic breaks out, is to just try to have a set plan for yourself. Plan out, be as organized as you possibly can, because I think all the responsibility at that point falls all on you, and having to, break up all spaces be difficult. So just stay organized and get through it. It'll be okay.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so this question is for Nicole and Bianca. So since you guys have experience living in the dorm life, how is it? How's it like? And then also on that, what do you guys do on the weekends living on the campus? We'll start off with Nicole. Oh, I'm sorry.
I absolutely loved living on campus. I lived in the Hassayampa dorms, and it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit of a learning curve, having to adjust living with somebody all the time and sharing a space, like sharing a bathroom, sharing a room. I'm used to having my own bathroom. I'm used to having no siblings around to share a room with. So that took a bit of time to adjust, but it's definitely really important to communicate with your roommate and making sure that you have a compatible roommate. I ended up having a roommate that I didn't know beforehand, So I had to reach out to her before school started, and over the summer, we would occasionally message each other. And then we met for the first time on move-in day. And we ended up actually becoming really good friends, and we're going to live together again this year. It was definitely a little bit hard at first, but once you start getting to know each other, once you start communicating and getting used to it, it's a really great space. And then it's definitely, I wouldn't say that it's out of control. Like, it's definitely a little bit loud from time to time, but it's nothing too big. You kind of learn when there's so many people living in one building, you kind of have to be okay with like occasional yelling or running down the halls. But it was nothing too distracting, and it usually wasn't something that was keeping me up at night. And then over the weekends, I luckily lived close enough on campus that I would go home frequently over the weekends and then come back on like Sunday nights. So that's something that you can do if you live close enough or if you're willing to make the drive. I do know that over the weekends, ASU provided a lot of like events, whether it was like movie nights or it was they would have like concerts from time to time that they would announce like a few weeks before, and then they would just have shows on a Saturday night, and those were a lot of fun to attend to. So on campus and off campus, there's a lot of activities to participate. So
Yeah, thank you. I remember, I think T-Pain, was it, that came? Were you there when that happened?
no, but I think it was Megan the Stallion that was there last semester. Yeah.
Okay. And then I think Jason Derulo played over the summer for it was like a virtual live. It was pretty cool. But yeah, well, Bianca, you want to give us your experience?
Yeah, so my experience was pretty fun. I lived in Manzanita. We call it Manzanita. That's how you hear it over there. It was really cool because, like, honestly, like, I'm pretty lazy to cook for myself in the morning. So all I had to do was like go down to the basement to the cafeteria. So that was really neat. Honestly, very, very good experience. And just simply like being surrounded by like a pool of just people from everywhere around the world. Like my roommate was from Canada, which is really cool. I actually got to go visit Canada because of her. So that was a very fun experience. So it really depends like how you approach yourself in a situation, like always, and like advocate for yourself and then put those boundaries in the beginning. If you are considering living in, that's my biggest tip, is to make sure what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. Even if you don't want to come off as too much, just know that those things do add up, and it's just things that you shouldn't be worrying about while living in, since it's your home, it's your space. You know, you should feel comfortable being where you're at, and simply like engaging in activities. So like over the weekend, I was 18, so there's a lot of things you can't do on Mill. So you got to get a little creative, meaning like hang out with friends, do movie nights, have play Mario Party 8 on the TVs, or simply just go and explore Tempe together in like a different light. So it all depends on how much like one wants to do. They can also relax. Laundry day for me was on Sunday, early in the morning when nobody was up. So just figuring out your routines and just give yourself that ability to kind of just like grow into your environment, which is really good and helpful. And it's actually one of the best ways to see that you kind of can make it on your own. Like it's great to have your parents' support, but it's also great to have that self-validation that at one point in life, you're going to be able to, you know, like do your own thing and everything's going to be okay.
No, yeah, it's great to get that experience from the start. But yeah, the next question, campus safety. You could probably continue this question, Bianca. With living in the dorms and also going to schools, how is campus safety in regards to it being dark or during the day or no one's around? Can you go into detail with the campus safety, not just ASU, but in general with what's provided?
Yeah, it's pretty clear. I think the majority of the universities here or just community college are open campuses, meaning that there is the opportunity for people to come on your campus. But nonetheless, there are a lot of posts around school that are for emergency help. During your orientation, you are going to get a lot of overwhelming information, but nonetheless, that information is going to be, a good portion is going to be security. Your student card gives you access and entrance to a lot of places that, you know, the public can't get in. So that's really good to have on you at all times. Don't lose your student card, very important, especially in the library, whereas like a lot of times where students are at. So I've never had one time I did stay up till 3 a.m. on a project and I needed to get to my dorm, which was only like a 5-minute commute walking. but I called services to come escort me, which was really helpful since, you know, it's always good to have that, you know, I'm going to be one place to another. And then simply letting people know where you're at. You are going to be in college. You are going to have that independence, but it's always good to either a friend, a cousin, a brother or sister to let them know if you're staying out at night, simply because you never know what can happen. It's always important. Good portion of security is having like practicing safety precautions as well, you know? So that's one thing to have in the back of your mind as well.
Yeah, thank you. And then we'll go on to the next question just to make sure we have time. So for Emily and Letitia, how do you, well, most likely this question would have been for me when I was in school. How will I know if I'm in the right major? Then we can start with Emily.
Yeah, so I would say you're in the right major when you're just deeply passionate about everything that you're learning. You find genuine interest and excitement in the material that is handed to you. It doesn't seem so much like, oh my gosh, I have homework, but it's, oh my gosh, I have all of this information that I get to learn from and use to apply it not only in my life, but in the lives that I choose to affect moving forward. So it's great. It's not like when you're in high school and you're wondering when you'll use the Pythagorean theorem in your life. In college, all of your college courses will relate to what you want to do. So I think that's why it's really important to find something that you're genuinely passionate about. So you'll have the most success in it, I believe.
Yeah, thank you. And then Letitia, can we get your experience
Definitely.
or advice or wisdom?
For sure. So, right out the gate, I do want to say that you do not need to know what you want to do for the rest of your life going into college. Originally, I thought I wanted to be a plastic surgeon, but then I took a science class and did not like it at all. So, it's okay. These times are kind of just to experience different things. So, changing your major is honestly just the click of a button. It's just the matter of you having to speak out about it. And it's honestly, when I say like a click of a button, it's a web page and you do it. I promise. I know a couple of people who've changed their major probably 6 or 7 times, and that's completely okay. Um, how you know you're kind of in the right major is just experiencing it, I want to say. And then once you do find your passion, you will definitely know, and it will be that thing that kind of just sets your soul on fire. So yeah, just don't be afraid to reach out and talk to people in the field as well, because that will definitely help you find what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's really great just because it's a funny story with myself. I like to tell students this, but my mom picked my major. So eventually when I found out the major I wanted to do was last year, and then when I tried to switch my major, I already have more credits in my current major than the major that I wanted, so I had to suck it up and just take it. But yeah, it's one of those things that if you ever do find your interest while you're in school, you could always reach out to your academic advisor and just have that conversation. But yeah, I'm glad you gave us that wisdom for us, just because I wish I would have known about it. But for the last question, and then we'll go into the questions that have been sent to us from our audience. So the last question that we have is, what should the students do between now until the first day of class? And then if you guys just could give a quick advice, just for the sake of time, but we'll do all of you. We'll start off with Nicole, then Bianca, then Emily, and then you last, Letitia. But yeah, just tell us what students should be doing from now to the first day of school.
My biggest piece of advice that really helped me was reaching out to any friends you have that are currently in college. I had a few senior friends who were on their first year in college, and I would constantly text them over the summer and be like, hey, like, how's this? Like, how do you do this? How does this work? And I got a lot of great help from them. So if you know anybody that's currently in college, definitely reach out to them. Don't be shy. It's great to start building those connections early on.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Bianca.
A good thing that you can start doing is finding how to distress yourself, methods that work for you. Find a hobby, something to entertain yourself, just because you are going to hit bumps. Like we already know this, we're students, we've been doing this for a long time, that it's going to get stressful. So And especially now, just figure out ways to kind of relieve that stress, and do it right now that you do have the abundance of time to try new things and work it within your schedule.
Thank you. Emily?
Yeah, so between now and the start of school, it's a great idea to constantly be on top of your student center and your emails, especially your school emails, because they'll give you tons of information on like your move-in dates, the start of classes, important notifications, especially now with like COVID-19. There's going to be a lot of alerts on how campuses are going to be changing, requirements that need to be made in order to keep everybody's health, well. So always check your student center, make sure you have all of your priority tasks cleared, and making sure that your financial aid is ready to go before the start of your semester.
All right, thank you. And Letitia?
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely kind of like reiterate what Emily said. Just make sure you got all your stuff taken care of. And if you're not 100% sure, don't be afraid to reach out to anybody, whether that's at College Depot or at the school itself. There are amazing resources. And another thing, I guess, to do before your first day is kind of just plan out what you want to do. And that doesn't have to be in your whole 4 years. That could just be what you want to do in your first year, whether that's study abroad or get into clubs and things like that. There are a lot of resources starting in August. So there's scholarships to apply for, things like that. So I like to say the early bird catches the worm. So just stay on top of things and you'll be great in college.
All right, so we have some questions that came in. So let's see this. Is ASU Online more than just Blackboard? Is it where you make your weekly posts? Do professors actually present and challenge you outside the assigned coursework? And this has been a major hurdle for online engagement. So we'll just break it down. We'll start off with the first question: is ASU Online more than just Blackboard? Most likely ASU uses Canvas, which is similar to the Blackboard model. But who wants to touch on this? Because I'm taking my graduate classes, and I think we all have this that's relevant. You want to tackle this, Letitia?
Definitely. So we do use Canvas, and that is where a lot of our group discussions are. It is very similar to Blackboard, just I like the way it's set up. It's more organized, things like that. You'll be able to see all your classes on your homepage, and each one will take you into that class's direct curriculum. So whether that's your syllabus, anything like that. I also like to use it to communicate with professors. They do have a messaging feature. And another great thing is you can download it on your cell phone. So if you need to send in an essay, anything like that, you can do it from your mobile device or a laptop.
All right, thank you. And then Nicole, for you, do professors actually challenge you outside of the assigned course book? And I'm asking you this because this is your first completed year, and you might have more of a fresh experience.
I say that it definitely depends on what class you're doing. Like, there's some classes that I found really easy, other classes that I struggled with, some classes where teachers would just go over the course load, and then I had other classes that completely encouraged discussion and different opinions and talking things out. And so those classes were definitely great. I took a film class and my first English class. Those two were like super engaging. And those professors definitely demanded students to like voice their opinions and have discussions. So they definitely made you think outside of the box instead of like waiting for like the correct response or the cookie cutter reply. So it definitely depends on what class and professor you have, but that's what like resources like Rate My Professor are for. Definitely check those out before you pick out your classes to see like what the professors kind of look like and how they kind of lead their classes in order to make those decisions if that's so important to you.
All right, thank you. And this next question is for Emily. Well, this question is mostly majority of you, but kind of know you guys. You guys do go full time. You guys do have work. I'll just get Emily's experience in regards to this question. But you as a full-time student, Emily, how is it? How do you construct your schedule? How do you make time for classes for each term? Is it a full load? Just give us your experience of one semester that you go through with both the work environment and also the school environment?
Yeah, so I think creating and like managing your schedule is probably one of the most important things you can do for yourself while you're in college, just because it will help guide your everyday. So to make sure that you have enough time for all of your classes, for anything you have to fit in between, and giving yourself that extra time at the end of the day for homework and things like that. So for me, what I decided to do was just decide what days worked best for me in terms of classes. With my major, you get to see kind of what are the classes that you have to take when they're available to you. So you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of picking your schedule since you are more in control of it. So picking the days and classes that I wanted and making sure I'm a morning person. So I make sure that all of my school stuff is done early in the day so that later in the afternoon, I still have time to fit in my internships, work, and still make it home in time to do as much homework as I can, and also try to schedule in my weekends. Some weekends are for going out and having fun and, de-stressing. Other weekends, we have to stay in and, make the sacrifice and do the homework and stay in to study because, there has to be a balance between the both. So.
No, yeah, for sure. Thank you. And then this last question, I'm going to ask this question to Bianca just based on her experience. Is there a list of questions that roommates should cover with each other? It's just pretty much having that discussion between two people or between your roommates.
One of the best engaging questions, is this more of like for if you're living in the dorm?
Oh, I think your volume went out.
It did go out. I'm sorry. But can you give me a little feedback on that?
Yeah. So let me see if I could construct this question. What kind of conversation should you have before you start the new academic year? Or more likely, what kind of boundaries should you start setting before you start the new school year to avoid any conflict throughout the semester?
Well, a big conversation is with your family. I think that's the first conversation you should be having, is with your family and figuring out if you're going to be living at home, what kind of boundaries you're going to have to put up there. Not in the sense that like, don't touch any of my stuff, but in the sense of like, you are going to be transitioning into a different student, a student that's going to have priorities and responsibilities a little bit more different than high school. So just letting them know and keeping them in the loop in that sense. But also like with anything in your life, with work, letting them know about your work schedule versus your class schedule, and having those hard conversations that sometimes you can't do things. I know it sucks because we are always students that want to give the best and are super ambitious, but there are going to be times where you just simply can't do something, not because you don't want to, simply because you need to prioritize something else. And those are just maturing and adulting things that you need to decide for your own. And so these are things that you should be asking yourself too, those big questions: what can and what can I do? And then when you decide that, things will be a little bit more enjoyable, so in the sense of like stressful questions. But I think the biggest thing is just figuring out what you can and want to do and what we simply don't want to do. And it's okay to let go of things that you used to do in the past and simply just don't want to do now. Those things are fine, they don't define you, the choices do. So just move forward and have an open mind. Always have an open mind, and just know that there's always two sides to a story, maybe even three. So it simply depends how good of a listener you are.
Yeah, thank you. That was really helpful. All right, Nicole, I'm also going to ask you this question too, just because you also went through the dorm life as well. What kind of conversation did you have with your roommate before starting the semester for the purpose of avoiding any conflict throughout the semester? Found a better way to construct the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bianca.
I think one of the most important things that I had to like ask was, how clean are you? I'm a very neat and clean and organized person. Like I would make my bed every single day. I was dusting, sweeping everything, my area, the bathroom we constantly kept clean. And so that was something that we agreed on, that we were both very clean people, and we were able to like find and what days somebody would throw out the trash, what days we would switch, and who would clean what, when, and all that. That's definitely super important because you're living in that area and you're sharing it. So you definitely want to make sure that you have a clean space and a space that you're comfortable living in. And since it's between the responsibility of two people, making sure that both of you are on the same page of that. I had some friends who like they were clean, but they had messy roommates and they hated being in the room. So definitely that's super important. Another one is, do you go to sleep early? Are you a light sleeper? I have the tendency of going to sleep super late, and my roommate would go to sleep early, but I typically wasn't up late studying. I was just like up late watching YouTube videos. And so I didn't have to have the lights on. And so if I saw that she was going to bed, I would just turn off the lights and like be in my side of the room and just like keep quiet. So making sure that you are communicating that with them, like, what's your sleep schedule like? Should I be more quiet in the morning? Should I not? For the first semester, I was waking up a lot earlier than her. So she told me, you don't have to worry about being super quiet because I'm a deep sleeper. And I said, that's great. And I would still be quiet. I would like tiptoe around the room in the mornings while I got ready. Other people have to like have similar schedules and they can get up and go to class together, or they have completely different schedules. So making sure that you know each other's schedules just for like the comfort of how you guys are going to be living around each other, being whether they're clean or not, and if you guys are compatible. Like sometimes you guys aren't best friends and that's okay, but as long as there's a mutual respect between each other, then that's makes it comfortable to live with them.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like you're the roommate to have. You're really responsible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I'm glad you guys are not fighting for anything in your guys' room. But the last question, just to end our panel, is another dorm question. So I'm going to ask this for both of you. You could continue the answering the question. But what is one advice you should give to a student who's going through dorm life? And this could be from the very start of purchasing items for the room to the very nitty gritty to your actual roommate or the room itself.
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so something that like I absolutely love doing was like decorating my room. And so knowing what my room looked like was really important to me. So I spent a lot of time watching YouTube videos for people that were like in my dorm building and like learning how they look like and what that space is going to be, so I knew what to buy. And watching those YouTube videos also helped me like know what people would buy and what people would recommend to buy, what not to. A lot of people said buy printers. I bought one and I used it maybe twice, but other people might have more use for it. So definitely knowing that like storage is super important in your dorm, but knowing how much you can fit in there is super important too. Hassa Yampa dorms are pretty big for dorms, so I was able to fit a lot in my dorm. And so my room was really organized, but I had a lot of things in there. So by the time that I had to move out and move in, I was carrying a lot of things. So definitely keep that in mind. A lot of the recommendations that I saw was people say don't bring a lot of shoes. And I thought that was kind of dumb because I wear a lot of shoes. And so definitely know what type of things that you're into. Like I love shoes, so I had like 20 pairs and that worked for me. Other people had like 3 pairs. I'm like, if that works for you, that's fine. But definitely knowing what other people do and like, but also knowing what your own likes and dislikes are in order to find the happy medium.
Yeah, thank you. You're like the walking version of Pinterest. Yeah, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so one of the things I learned very early on is to have a really good pillow. Especially if you sleep with a pillow, just have a really good pillow like that. And I turned into a minimalist because of my freshman year dorm. I had so many things that at the end of the day, I could never find a pen, I could never find paper, and it was so annoying because you're just like, why do I have such a mess? Like it's such a small room, and you realize you're kind of on the go. If you can like decide whether to sleep in a 10 extra minutes, like you're gonna sleep a 10 extra minutes. Like it's just gonna happen. So just figuring out your space and just how you want your space to be. A lot of the things that come in handy is an extension cord, since you're probably gonna have more than one device plugged in. Always have extra trash bags around, and like never run out of toilet paper, and make sure you have enough toilet paper for the next time you go to the grocery store, because that's going to be a very awkward conversation about like who didn't buy the toilet paper. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And mostly aside from that, just having your like kind of have like a routine of cleaning like with your person that's there. I know it sounds very mom-like, but it comes in handy. So keep that in the back of your head as well.
No, yeah, thank you for this wisdom. But yeah, this is the last of our questions, so we will be transitioning with the rest of the event. I just want to thank all of you again for all the information you provide. I know this is going to be helpful. I wish I was a freshman so I could know about this, but you always find out at the end, and this is really helpful just because with our own experience, we're able to tell the students throughout this event. So I'm glad you guys are providing all this information because it's really helpful. I just want to thank you guys, and then I'm going to let this go to Megan to transition us and introduce to our next event. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, David, very much. Okay, we are moving on to our next part of the presentation, College Freshman 101, what you need to know for a successful first year of college. And I'm going to bring you Emily Ramirez. She's an AmeriCorps College Access Specialist, and I will have Emily begin the presentation. Take it away, Emily.
Hello again, everybody. I'm so excited to be here and present to you the best tips and tricks on how to navigate through your college freshman year. So hopefully after this presentation, you'll feel a little bit more confident on how to guide yourself through your freshman year. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So one of the most important things as a college freshman is knowing how to manage your class schedule. So one of the first things that you'll do is meet with a college advisor. That college advisor should help you set up your classes, what classes you need. And it's also a great thing to do is to frequently make visits with your college advisor to constantly make sure that you're on track, taking all of your core classes and electives that you need in order to be on track for your graduation. Another thing that comes with managing your class schedule is knowing what days and times work best for you. Are you a morning person? Do you want to take your classes in the morning? Maybe mornings aren't that great for you. Maybe you don't function well until after 12 p.m. So maybe you want to do some night classes, So always take that into consideration. Know yourself, what works best for you. So then you can plan your class schedule accordingly. And also decide whether or not you want to be on campus certain days of the week or spread out. Maybe only going to campus on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday works for you. Or maybe you just want to condense your schedule to Tuesday, Thursday classes. Or maybe you're okay with going to campus every day of the week. As long as that works for you, it doesn't matter what your schedule looks like as long as it works. Also plan for your day with your schedule in mind. So if you're going through half of your day and you still haven't had any lunch, then you need to consider that into your day. If you're going to be going to school, but you also have work and you have to go to your internship, make sure that you have a plan so that you get everything that you need to get done in your day. Also, balance between your core classes and electives. You don't want to take all of your core classes and then forget about your electives. You want to find a balance between the both. When you pick your classes, pick classes that you are genuinely interested in. In high school, you don't have so much leeway in terms of the classes that you have to take, but in college, you can decide a lot of things for yourself. So with your classes, in your major, you're going to have different classes that you'll need to take in order to graduate. Your core classes, those ones you'll have to take and you can't get out of. But some other classes that you'll have available to you, like your electives, those are the ones that you can choose and find the ones that you are genuinely really interested in and that you want to take. Because you don't want to take a bunch of classes that you're going to be super bored with when you can be taking classes that you're excited about and you're engaged in and you want to learn. Another great thing is to visit your college campus before the start of the semester. So then you can kind of get a feel for what it's going to be like when you start your day. How long is it going to take you to get between classes? If you have breaks, what can you do in between those breaks? So if you go on to your college campus and you give yourself kind of a self-guided tour, you'll be able to familiarize yourself with the campus and find your classes. It's also a great thing to download your school's course management system, such as Canvas or Blackboard, on your phone, so you can easily have access to your assignments, any alerts that your professors might send you, updates on your class schedule, and anything like that. You can also take a virtual tour of your college campus. You can print out a map of your college campus so you can map out your class route, or you can download a map app of your campus or use Google Maps. So any of those things are great to have on your device to help you navigate through your college day. So another great thing is a syllabus. So if you have some experience with a syllabus, maybe you've had one in high school, maybe you haven't, but in college, a syllabus is super important. Your syllabus is your student contract, your student commitment to the course. So through your syllabus, you'll get a detailed description and outline of what your semester will look like. A syllabus is a great tool to get to know your course schedule for the semester, and it'll also give you important dates such as your finals and exam dates. You can also find great information on your syllabus, such as your professor's contact information, knowing their professor's office hours, if they do office hours in person, if it's going to be virtually, online, over the phone. And you'll also have all of your course assignments listed on your syllabus, so you'll know everything that's expected from you from the semester and know when those dates are going to be, so you can turn in those assignments. Okay, moving on, we have an example of a syllabus. Yes, okay, so back to the syllabus. So this is a syllabus, an example of my syllabus that I've had when I was attending ASU. And so this was from, I believe, my fall semester. So on your left-hand side, you can see that we have the dates of classes, the instructor's name, instructor's contact information, office hours, some general course information. And on the right-hand side, you can see that each week is detailed by the topics that are going to be discussed, the materials that will be covered, and what assignments are going to be due for that week, whether it be in-class assignments, at the end of the week assignments. You'll find all of that information on your syllabus. So it'll definitely be your best friend while you're navigating through your semester. Okay. And moving forward, we have how to save on books. So books can become very, very pricey in college. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. But the good thing is that there's an abundance of ways that you can save money on your books. So one of the coolest things that I enjoy the most about saving on books is my student Amazon Prime membership. So as a student, students are able to get an Amazon Prime membership for a reduced cost as a student. And on Amazon, you have tons of options on renting, buying, borrowing books that are really affordable, that will be usually a lot cheaper than you would find them if you were to go to your school's bookstore or look on your school's website. Also, renting books and not buying them can be really, really great. If you don't plan on keeping the book and maybe you just need the textbook for the semester, then just rent it. There's no need for buying a $100 book if you're only going to use it for a few months. So you can always rent it, and it turns out to be a lot cheaper. Chegg is also another tool people use for textbooks. And if you have any friends that are in college currently or have just recently graduated, you can always check with them to see if there's any classes that you're currently taking that they have taken, and then see if they have the textbooks for that and borrow them from a friend. You can also download the e-version of textbooks and get the ebooks, or you can go on Facebook and type in the ISBN number and you can see if anybody else is offering that book. And it's also a great tool to resell old textbooks. Alrighty. Another great tool, so ratemyprofessor.com is a website that you can use to check to see what other students, people have to say about the professors that you might be in class with. So it's a great tool to find reviews and ratings for this professor. Maybe you're a student that doesn't do so well with just strictly lectures. So on Rate My Professor, you can type in the professor and see kind of what their way of managing the class is like. If it's something that fits your learning needs, or maybe it's not, then it'll help you make that decision before picking your classes and setting up your schedule. You can also go on your school's website and read your professor's backgrounds and read their bios. Alrighty, and moving forward, so campus life. So college campuses are huge, and there's tons and tons to do on every campus. So take advantage of your professor's office hours. So your campus life is going to involve strictly a lot of your academics. And with your academics, you're going to want to be attentive to your professor's office hours and ask those questions, make those connections with your professors. They're going to be the ones that can suggest an internship opportunity or a scholarship that you might be eligible for. They might also be great to write you letters of recommendations for a future job, for graduate school, for scholarships, all of that. On your campus, you also have the great opportunity to build connections and network with different staff and students. These connections can help get you into various different types of internships, can get you letters of recommendations for grad school, like I had mentioned, or scholarships. And you should also get to know your academic advisor. Your academic advisor can also let you know of scholarship opportunities, possible job opportunities related to your major, and they can help you stay on track with your major, making sure you're all set up to graduate. And your campus will also have a ton of campus resources. You have access to the library, to computer labs, tutoring. A good thing with tutoring is that you might want to consider finding tutoring before some of the classes that you might feel like you might struggle in. So maybe you're going to be taking a physics class and you're not too sure or too comfortable with physics yet. So maybe trying to look for somebody who can tutor you in physics before the start of that class. So you already have some prior knowledge, you feel a little bit more comfortable, and you're ready to be more successful during that class in that course. And you can always take additional tutoring while you're already enrolled in the class. Campuses also have campus shuttles that can help transport you, parking, and student health services and counseling. And through campus life, you can also get involved, and there's tons and tons of things to get involved with. There's so many clubs on college campuses. For example, at ASU, I didn't know that there was a Quidditch club. So it turns out that there is a Quidditch club at ASU. So if you're a Harry Potter fan and you're familiar with Quidditch, it's at ASU. So you can really find anything that you're interested in or excited about. Go online, go on your school's website and see if any student organization or club has that available to you. There's also tons of sports that you can get involved in. College campuses have fitness centers so you can stay active and healthy. They will also have student club and organization fairs available, so you can go and explore all of the different clubs and organizations on your campus and have that in-person experience getting to know those student-led organizations. And there's also Greek life. So Greek life is sororities and fraternities. So if you're interested in that, there's also a great student population of Greek life on campuses. So feel free to explore all and any of that. All right, and while you're in college, you also have a great opportunity to study abroad. So when studying abroad comes along, you have the opportunity to go and travel to a different state, a different country, and learn and take classes there and adjust to the culture and really live that experience. So ways you can get connected to study abroad is you can research programs on your school's website, or you can just go online and see what is out there. You can go into your school's study abroad office and speak to a representative there. Speaking to a representative there will probably be the best option because the people who work at the study abroad office have experience with study abroad, so they'll be able to guide you and give you more useful information so that you can make better decisions in terms of studying abroad. You can also attend the study abroad fair and see what different programs are out there that you can sign up for. And you can always speak to a college advisor to help you get connected to more resources and opportunities. If you are looking to speak to someone at College Depot, we do have advisors who know a lot about study abroad and have had experience with study abroad themselves. So if you are interested in that, please request an appointment with a College Depot advisor using the tiny.cc/CD request link. Alrighty. And understanding your financial aid. So as a college student, it's really important to know your financial aid, understand it, and know how to manage it. Your financial aid is what's going to help carry you on into all 4 years and thereon after of your college career. So with your financial aid, you'll want to make sure that you have your FAFSA done and turned in, and verification if you are selected for it on time every year, to ensure that you have your funds ready and available to you before the start of the next semester. Scholarships. If you have scholarships, always make sure and go back to review what the requirements and criteria are for them, because some scholarships are eligible for renewability. Some scholarships are only offered for the year or maybe only a semester. Some scholarships are eligible to be renewed for up to all 4 years. So you'll want to go and check with the scholarships to see what requirements there are. Is there any expected GPA requirements, credits that you'll need to meet in order to be eligible to renew that scholarship and receive that funding again for another year? With your financial aid, with your FAFSA, your scholarships, your major, you'll want to make sure that you're always staying on track with your GPA, since it will always factor in to kind of your financial aid world as a student, and also for just having a great GPA in college is always great. Making sure that you're meeting all of your credits. Some scholarships do require a certain amount of credits, and just making sure you stay on top of your credits so you can stay on top for graduation. Looking for scholarships moving forward. So once you apply for scholarships now as a senior in high school, doesn't mean that you can't apply for scholarships as a freshman in college, a sophomore in college, junior, senior. So there's always scholarship opportunities, and you can always apply. So always look for scholarships. Even if you have loans, you can still apply for scholarships. And if you do find yourself with a financial aid gap, there are other resources such as programs such as AmeriCorps, finding an on-campus job, or working with a company that provides students with educational benefits or tuition reimbursement. And if you would like more information on programs such as AmeriCorps, signing up for campus jobs, and things like that, feel free to request an appointment with a College Depot advisor, and we can help you with all of that. And advocate for yourself. So if you were a participant during the panel, you may have heard some of our panelists kind of briefly go over how important it is to advocate for yourself. And I think this is probably one of the most important things you can do for yourself as a student, as a human being to yourself, as you carry on through your college career and moving forward. So advocating for yourself, what does that mean? That means to be there and stick up for yourself. life continues. Everything that is going around in your own personal world, in the world beyond you, you know, there's a lot. So don't kid yourself. Life can be hard sometimes, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed, to be stressed. Depression, anxiety, all of those things are very, very much real. And it's okay to be struggling with any of that at any point in time. So just know that there are counseling services available to you. Your campus has great resources for that to get you connected to someone who can help you. Always check up on your mental health. You know, it's okay to know that you're not okay. You can't always be okay. And if you're not okay, you can't be the best version of yourself that you can be. So take a step back, and when you're not feeling so great, take the steps to make sure that your mental health is well and that you're doing everything that you possibly can to put yourself first, because there's no point in doing great things in life if you yourself aren't doing well. So just make sure you have that taken care of. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to speak up. Ask questions if you aren't understanding something. If you have questions about anything, ask them. Ask your professors, to your campus, to anybody. Ask questions and talk to people that you can trust. So creating a support network for yourself. There will be times when you will be stressed, when you will be overwhelmed, or when you've been so caught up in school and work that you've forgotten to take some time off to hang out. So finding that support network of people that you can trust that will be there for you to talk to help you get out of those difficult spots and situations are going to be very helpful to you and helpful to make life a little bit less stressful. And also know that it's okay to know when it's too much. If you have too much school, too much work, if you're doing too much with student involvement or internships, it's okay. Don't bite off more than you can chew. All right. And with that being said, that concludes this portion of College Freshman 101. If you have any questions.
Oh, Emily, I have a question for you.
Great. Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, so could you talk a little bit more about the tuition reimbursement with AmeriCorps and how that exactly works for like College Depot or other organizations? And like just explain that a little more detail.
Okay, yeah, of course. So AmeriCorps is a government-funded program. It has some great educational benefits for students if anybody is interested in participating. So AmeriCorps is a civic engagement program. So you volunteer essentially kind of part-time with a organization in your community, and you become a part of that. You help bring up civic engagement, you get involved with the community and the people, but you also get a lot of experience. And you also get educational benefits. So at the end of your term in your service, you get this education award or scholarship, if you will, that can help you pay back for school and also give you a like a monthly stipend so that you're also getting paid during your service. So you get a great scholarship to go towards school. And you also kind of have a little bit of income coming in on the side. So it's great.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Okay, we're moving right along. So we have our next section. Diana Matier will present. Diana on accessing, she's a college access advisor and financial aid manager, and she's going to talk about lending advice on the cost of college and federal student loans. So take it away, Diana.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you this afternoon. And I want to, first of all, say how amazing our students have been and talking about the ins and outs of college. I'm going to be a little more practical with you today. I first want to congratulate all of you students on your decision to go to college this fall. I also want you to realize that I realize you may not completely know yet how you're going to afford college. So I want to talk today about two areas that are very prone to misinformation. Those areas are, what is the true cost of college anyway? What's it going to cost you to attend each year, whether you live on campus, off campus, or with your parents? And I also want to talk today about the pros and cons of student loans as part of your college financing plan, because whether you ever desire to take out a student loan or not, they're going to be presented to you as an option. And you want to be a smart borrower if you choose that option. So without further ado, let's get started. College costs really fall into one of two categories: fixed costs and variable costs. Let's talk about what you really don't have a lot of control over first, and that's your fixed costs. Those are your tuition and fees, generally non-negotiable, right? The tuition, the fees to attend the college are set in stone, and you have to deal with those. That tuition, however, may be a flat rate for full-time attendance up to a maximum number of credits. Let me elaborate on that a bit. First, tuition is generally set at 12 credits or more full-time. That would be about 4 classes each semester. But you could take 15 or 16 or even a few more credits if you're truly ambitious and the college will allow you to do that without a surcharge. You can take extra credits beyond 12 for the same price as the first 12 credits. So obviously, if you can academically allow yourself more time to take those credits, more credits per semester, you are going to end up, first of all, progressing more quickly, and secondly, saving yourself some money. So I strongly suggest a course load that is not too overwhelming. So you don't want to take 21 credits a semester. But if you can take 15 or 16, you're going to save yourself ultimately some time and money. You also need to count fees. A lot of students just look at the tuition and say, oh, it's $3,000 or $10,000 or $50,000 a year. But then when you add on the fees to that, the cost is very, very different. Fees can be by program. For instance, if you're in an honors program, or you are looking at a class like a film studies class or an art program where there are extra supplies that you're going to need to purchase. Or for instance, if you're in a career program like cosmetology, there's always a large extra charge for things like your kit and your supplies. So don't forget about those hidden fees because they are very important. Variable costs, on the other hand, are something that you can control. And those include your room and board, your books and supplies, your transportation to and from campus, including parking a car there if you have one, and finally, personal expenses. And we're going to delve into each of those variable costs and how you may be able to lessen those, make sure that you save some money there. So I have a phrase, words for the wise here. College costs always include fixed and variable expenses. So the college you're going to attend, no matter where it is going to award financial aid funds or offer financial aid funds up to the cost of attendance average that the college has set. And I will give you an example. We've talked a lot about ASU today, and it's easy to do since there's an ASU campus on every corner of Phoenix, and they have a lot of students, and many of you may be planning to attend there as well. The average cost of attendance at ASU for a year is set at a little more than $30,000. Now you can all breathe because $30,000 is not actually the cost of ASU tuition and fees, or much less than that. Even when you count in room and board, you are looking more at $20,000 than $30,000. So what is that $30,000? It includes a lot of things that you can control the cost of, so you can bring that $30,000 down. But ASU or any school that has set a cost of attendance average is going to also include in your financial aid package student loan funds for you as a student or for your parents based on that $30,000 average. So let's talk about how you reduce or eliminate those loan awards by reducing your variable costs. For a few minutes, we're going to talk about what you can do to change that $30,000 or reduce it. And the same is true at every school. Just consider ASU is an example here. Can you adjust your housing arrangements and your meal costs? If you're planning to live on campus, either locally or you're going out of state or out of the city and you have to live on campus, can you adjust your housing costs? Absolutely. Most institutions have different prices of dormitories and different meal plans. So do you have to live in the most expensive dorm? Or have you been assigned to the most expensive dorm and perhaps you want to check on moving? Also, meal costs. Do you have to have the most expensive meal plan? Perhaps you can get a lesser meal plan and plan to cook in your dorm or your room, have a microwave oven. And if you go for the most expensive meal plan, I can pretty much guarantee you that you will not use every single dollar of that through the semester. And it's important to know if any unused money rolls over or if you just lose it and you're going to have to eat a lot in December to make up for what you didn't do September through November. So consider, are there ways to cut those costs? I hate to bring it up, but if you are unable to come up with any extra money to live on campus and you are a local student, can you in fact live at home for a semester or 2 semesters? And that will substantially cut your costs, particularly if your parents have agreed that you can still live at home and they will feed and house you. Another thing students forget about, everybody wants their car. If there's a fee to park on campus, do you want to absorb that fee, which could be anywhere from $250 for a lot that you may have to search for an hour on campus, or $750 a year if you want to put your car in a garage near your dorm? Do you even need a car on campus? Because most large campuses like ASU, U of A, even NAU, which is a bit smaller, but all have campus transportation programs that can get you from one area of the campus to the other. Of course, if you're going to community college or you're going out of state, the chances are that you either won't have a car, or if you're parking a car on campus at a community college, that will be free as long as you can search around for a space. But if you don't absolutely have to have that car, consider alternative transportation arrangements, public transportation, parking off campus if there's a lot available, and taking the campus transportation into your buildings. There's a lot of ways. There are a lot of ways that you can get rid of that parking charge. So I strongly encourage you to consider that. Thrifty shopping to reduce your personal expenses. I always say, learn to live like a student and not live like a king. So if you can purchase some used furniture, a lamp, or a chair, or something that you're missing in your dorm room that you absolutely want to have, go to a thrift store. There's no harm in buying a piece of furniture there, because quite honestly, sometimes they have some terrific deals. Consider, can you buy your personal items like shampoo, detergent, towels, all that sort of thing at a dollar store rather than at Nordstrom's, because you will save a lot of money that way. So consider how adjusting even those 3 areas can save you hundreds or thousands of dollars off that $30,000 price tag we just talked about at ASU. I want to change gears for a moment to talk about how student borrowing fits in to your college financing plan. And I trust you've all heard a lot about student borrowing in the papers and the media, even on Facebook, where people talk about the tragedies of taking out student loans. I think the greatest tragedy of student loans is if you decide not to go to college because you're never going to borrow a single dollar of money. Then you have really changed your plans and you're destroying the investment in your future. But you want to be absolutely sure that you are taking out only the loan money you need. And I want to give you some statistics today. In 2019, 43% of college students in America took on some type of debt. And frankly, I was pleased that it was lower than 50% because I've been doing this for a long time. And I actually would have thought it was more like 60%. But 43% of students took on some type of debt. And 90% of that debt was in the form of student loans. What was the other 10%? Your parents maybe took out a second mortgage on their house, where they put your tuition on a credit card. Please try to avoid that if possible. But 90% of the students who took out debt were actual student loan borrowers, mostly in the federal student loan programs. The average borrower indebtedness of this group was more than $35,000 when all was said and done. That's not per year, but that's how much they borrowed for the 2 or 4 years of education, whatever they were choosing to do. So I'll let you think about those statistics for a moment and we'll move on. Why is there so much borrowing? Why is it so rampant? And why do students get in trouble with it? It's really pretty easy because it's easy to borrow money when gift aid, like your grants or your scholarships that don't have to be repaid. That's what gift aid means. If it falls short, as college costs keep increasing, that is why a lot of students are relying on federal student loans. Actually, the federal government has put most of their federal financial aid money into the student loan program so that they recoup it if the students pay it back. We hope that will change in the future, but right now it is definitely true that the federal government puts most of their financial aid eggs into the student loan basket. Federal rules actually require ability. So don't be surprised in every financial aid offer you've received. If there is a student loan there, it is because the schools are required to tell you of your eligibility. That's one of the federal rules that they have to follow. Schools may actually even have a policy that students receive some amount of self-help aid. Self-help, unlike gift aid, is your student loans, your federal work study. They want you to have some skin in the game. They want you to pay for some of this on your own, whether through its loans or through working. So they're going to throw some amount of that into your financial aid package. But keep in mind, we're going to talk about how you don't necessarily have to accept everything that they offer to you, particularly if it is money you have to work for or pay back. Sometimes you just want a better quality of life. I have 2 college graduates who, when they were in school at the University of Arizona, they wanted to live in the best dorm or the best apartment off campus. They really wanted to live like royalty. And sometimes you as who are on the line as parents have to talk students out of that. And you students have to talk yourselves out of that. Because if you just want a better quality of life, can you put that off for a couple of years until you actually get out of school? Sometimes you think you just need a cushion for emergencies. What's going to happen if I get sick or if my car tires all blow out at the same time? And so students sometimes borrow money simply because they want to put it aside in case something happens. And then you realize what happens when they do that, or when you do that, or when I do that. What really occurs is that we find something to spend that money on that we borrowed, And maybe it's not an emergency. Maybe we just want a new dress or a better laptop computer. So keep in mind that that may not be the real reason you should borrow. Sometimes you're going to find you have less ability to work and or save while you're in school. And so the easy way around that is I can't work a job at all because I have too many credits I'm taking. And so therefore, I'm going to borrow some money to tide me over and treat it like income. Keep in mind, borrowing money is not income. It is a loan that you will have to pay back. So if you can work a little bit more, save a little bit more, either right now or when you enter college, you are going to be able to reduce your indebtedness. And finally, we all look to our family members as we start college. I know my children did. But sometimes family members may be able to offer little or no financial support, particularly now. We're living in a different world. Some of our parents have reduced hours at work. They've had a business that's failing because of COVID. There are just expenses that have come up that none of us expected in our lifetimes. But now they're happening. So your family may not be prepared to do more than just buy you a bag of groceries sometime. I know in my own family, when I was in college, I still remember my parents saying, we really can't help you with anything. But then I'd come home every other weekend and they would do my laundry and they would have stocked up on some things like shampoo or washing detergent. They would buy me some staple items, groceries, and say, this is all we can do for you, but that's something. And even that little bit did reduce my indebtedness while I was in my first 4 years of college. Can you actually avoid student loans? I often tell students of four-year programs, it will be great if you can, but that's a big maybe. Perhaps you can avoid them altogether, or certainly reduce them if you do a number of things. The first one's obvious, and this only applies to those of you who've decided to go to community college, but you probably made that decision in part because it was less expensive. And if you have Pell eligibility and you're attending a community college, there are chances you don't need a student loan at all, although they will offer you one because they have to by law, but you don't have to take it. You obviously want to accept your Pell Grant because it's free money, but you don't need that student loan necessarily to meet the basic expenses of a two-year college. You also may not need a student loan if you have a large amount of institutional aid to cover tuition, room, and board. And I will use the Obama Scholar Program at ASU as an example. If you have been awarded Obama Scholar funds, they will try to meet as much as possible your tuition, your room, and your meal costs with grant assistance, either through the federal grant programs or through institutional grants. But they will almost always include a little bit of student loans in there. And keep in mind, if you can cut some of those variable costs, you may not need those student loans. Students who can work while they're in school are always at an advantage if you have a work-study position or an AmeriCorps position. Those types of jobs will work around your class schedule and they'll give you a break during midterms or times when you have to study really hard. And so if you can work at all, even 5 or 10 hours a week, it's going to give you some pizza money, money to go to the movies if the movie theaters ever open up, some time to chill with your friends. So if you can work, try to do it at least a little bit. And how about saving? Start telling your relatives, when my birthday comes around or Christmas comes around or any other time that you might think of buying me a gift, could you give me a little bit of cash instead? And they won't think you're being rude. They'll know that you're saving for every dollar you can for college. And they'll probably meet that request. So don't be afraid to ask for cash gifts while you're a lowly student, right? How Cost-conscious students, the ones that aren't afraid to go to the thrift store or the dollar store to buy stuff. Those students who are living truly on a budget that they set for themselves often can get through with limited or no student loans. But what happens if you absolutely cannot go to school in the fall and the spring without a student loan? Should you just decide, I'm not going to go at all? I'm going to put it off until I can afford it. If you make that choice, I can pretty much assure you, you will never be able to afford it because life happens to us at all times. Who knew that the kind of life we're all living right now would be like this, where the College Depot would be offering a summer program virtually? So I want to spend just 5 or so more minutes talking about what happens if you can't avoid a student loan. And then I want to make sure we leave time for any of the technical questions. If you can't avoid taking out a loan altogether, student loan knowledge is your key. You need to understand particularly what the federal loan programs are all about, because that's what the college is going to throw at you. There are basically 3 types of federal loans. Subsidized, which means the entire time you are in school, the federal government will pay the interest on the money that they've loaned you on your behalf. So that's nice of them. They lend you money, but for a while you don't have any interest on it. Then there are the unsubsidized loan programs, which means that you borrow money and you can delay payment on that borrowing, but interest is accruing on the loan. So if you have a choice between subsidized and unsubsidized, you always want to take out the first one, because subsidized loans will have the interest payment made by the federal government, and that could save you hundreds or thousands of dollars. And then finally, for parents who may be on the line today, you can also go into debt for your student by taking out a PLUS loan. And a PLUS loan is really the last program you should consider in financial aid. So for instance, if you've been offered a $10,000 PLUS loan to meet that $30,000 cost of attendance, can you actually decrease that loan or eliminate it simply by reducing that $30,000 cost? PLUS loans are taken out by parents, not by the student, but they're taken out because the student is in school, and PLUS loans are in the parent's name, where the other 2 loan programs are in the student's name. So the responsibility level of these 3 programs varies with who is the borrower. In each of these 3 programs, there are annual loan limits, and interest rates may change each year. So the loan that you borrow for your freshman year will have one fixed interest rate, and then the loan you borrow for your sophomore year may have a very different interest rate. And the federal government sets those rates. The federal government, not a bank, is the lender under the federal student loan programs. When you borrow money, I hope you all know what the basic responsibility is. It is a loan that you must repay in some fashion. But I'm here to tell you that the payments and the rights that you have as a federal student loan borrower are plentiful. And if you exercise all of them, there's no reason you ever have to go into default. A payment on a federal student loan may be deferred until after graduation, or if you don't make it all the way to graduation, the time you withdraw. And I know that everyone on the line today is aiming for that graduation goal, and you will all make it if you listen to the advice that you're given. So payment doesn't have to be made while you're in school. Interest is still being charged on some loans, but you can delay the payments for as many as, let's say you're going to be an attorney and go to law school. You will be in school, I can assure you, for 7 years. And you could defer your payments for the whole 7 years if you went right from your undergraduate program to law school. If you're going to be a medical doctor, it may be even more than 7 years. So there are many ways to delay the payments on a student loan while you are still a student. There are also tons of ways to repay your loans, to delay the payments on them if you are having financial hardship or go back to school, or even qualify for loan forgiveness. So particularly students who are looking at teaching, working in nonprofit jobs, in government, where those positions might pay a little less than in the private sector. The federal government has set up a number of ways in which your payments can be manageable or can be delayed or even forgiven after a period of timely repayment. So there really is no excuse if you take out a student loan not to be able to manage it well. One of my jobs at College Depot is actually to talk to college graduates after we are finished working with them as students on what to do now that they're truly adults with some debt and how did they handle that. So inform yourself. There is a government website called studentaid.gov. That's STUDENTAID, all one word, at .gov, or .gov, I'm sorry, studentloans.gov. So if you really want to educate yourself about student loans or put yourself to sleep sometimes, these government sites can be very, very wieldy, and they have a lot of very dry information for you. But I do encourage you to look at that website before you consider a student loan so that you do so wisely. So if you have to borrow, how in the world do you do it? Colleges are not extraordinarily clear on anything but making your financial aid offer. And if there's a loan or loans on that financial aid offer, you have to accept them in whole or part. So you could accept one type of loan and decline another one. You could be offered $5,000 in a loan and decide you only need $2,000. It is entirely up to you to determine. So your grants and your scholarships, you're going to have automatically accepted. They probably won't even give you a choice because who's going to decline free money, right? But for the loans, you want to make sure that you are actively accepting them. If you want one, again, all the money they've offered you, or you put in your own dollar amount. You need to follow the school's instructions for completing loan requirements if you're going to take out one. It's not just hitting that little accept button. There is more work. The school will probably email you after you accept any or all of the loan amount to tell you what their requirements are. And usually those requirements can be met at studentaid.gov. That includes online counseling, which is really pretty easy. They just take you through some text and questions and answers. So it's an online course just to give you the ins and outs of student loans. But the biggest takeaway from that is you borrowed money, you have to pay it back. And you will have to complete a separate student loan application. It's called a master promissory note, and you are not required to have a cosigner for all of you students. You can take this loan out on your own behalf with absolutely no credit. That's how students get into trouble in the first place, because they're easy to get. But you fill out a basic one-page application, and they expect you to read 7 pages of disclosures after that. You will find those documents at studentaid.gov, but be sure that that is your school's process. That is usually what virtually every school uses for the federal loan programs. And I want you to remember one very important thing in this discussion. There is no such thing as a school gave me a loan that I didn't apply for or know about. So any of your friends, your parents' friends, anyone who's told you, I got this loan and I thought it was a grant, or the school never told me they were giving me a loan. That never is the case, or that school would probably be put out of business by the federal government. Some have been, actually, that have done some fraudulent things. But there really is no such thing in current day and age as having gotten a loan that you knew nothing about. Finally, student loans are a form of federal financial aid. So never come to meet with me and tell me, I didn't get any financial aid. I just got federal loans. You got financial aid. It was just in the form of loans and not grants. You have to file a FAFSA every year to get a student loan, just like you have to file a FAFSA in order to be eligible for grants. The only difference is that loans, unfortunately, are far more plentiful than the grant programs. I am going to stop here. If we can get to the question screen that we keep flashing at you, we want you to know that you can rely on us for questions, issues, but I want to address any questions that you may have entered on the chat. Megan or Kris, do we have any questions? This is a highly technical area, so I hope I have some.
Yeah, Diana, we have a question from Levy. She's asking, do you know which locations don't charge out-of-state tuition, even if it's just community college where she can then transfer after?
Okay. Your community colleges and your 3 state universities, and I'm going to speak to Arizona here first because we're in Arizona. I would assume that, well, let me back up. Those are public colleges. And let's compare those to colleges in our neighboring state of New Mexico. They also have community colleges and public institutions like University of New Mexico or New Mexico State. Or Community College of New Mexico. Those are all going to require you to be an in-state resident in order to get in-state tuition. So you have to think of public colleges always want you to live in the state where they're located for generally at least 12 months before you are considered an in-state resident. If you just move to another state to go to school, the chances are good you will never be considered an in-state resident. Okay? Because if you're just there to go to school, you're not living there, working there, contributing to the economy much. Private institutions, there is no such thing as in-state and out-of-state tuition. So if you look at Grand Canyon University, for instance, the price is the same for everyone. If you look at St. John's University in New Mexico, the tuition is the same no matter where you come from, even if it's down the street. I hope that answered that question.
Okay, thank you. We have a few more questions too. Do parents have to accept loans?
I'm sorry, Megan, you broke up there a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Do parents or students have to accept loans?
No, not at all. If you have another way to pay the shortfall, or if you can reduce the cost of attendance as calculated by the school, and remember, I just told you, you almost always can reduce the cost. If you can do those things and still pay your tuition and fees on time, you're not required to take out a loan at all. On the other hand, you are going to be asked, how are you going to pay your tuition? And it's due by a certain date or your classes will be dropped. So sometimes that's why students take out loans at the last minute. They thought they had another plan, it didn't work out for them. And because you take out a loan now doesn't mean you have to take out a loan later. And if you think you've got everything covered right now, don't take out a loan right away until you absolutely need to. It's important for you to realize that although scholarship funds go away, federal grants and loan funds never go away while you're still in the year. So you might decide in April you need more money and you're not going to make it. And they're about to tell you if you don't pay up, they're not going to issue you any grades. Then you might need to take out a student loan, but realize you already just attended 7 months, right? But it can be retroactive.
Great, thank you. I knew it was a lot of feedback. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Maybe you should try this since I'm getting all this feedback.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, great. So there's actually quite a few questions.
I bet. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, they just started piling in. And just a reminder, if a lot of this stuff really is technical and it's can be specific
to your situation.
So
I really do encourage everybody to call us or request an appointment, but if you're going to school in the fall and it's a financial aid question, sooner is better than later. But
Yeah,
go ahead,
and
Kris,
actually right
what do
down
we
there-
have?
Right down there, it's tiny.c/CD request. You can request an appointment. But so here we have a question from Abigail. Is it okay if you accept work study even though you might not work your first year?
Great question. This is from Abigail.
Yes.
Work study is going to be offered to you, and if it's not a guarantee of a job, nor is it an obligation for a job. So if you accept it, you still have to go out and find a job on the campus job board or in the department where you're going to school. You have to go through the normal process of maybe a little interview or something else you have to do. And that the hiring manager has to hire you, and then the financial aid office pays most of your salary out of your work study award. So it never hurts to accept it, even if you don't use it, or even if you find another way to pay. If you're offered work study, you might as well accept it. It allows you to go out and look for those great jobs, and they are great jobs on campus. They usually pay a little more than minimum wage. They're sometimes associated with your major. You could be a tutor, you could be a cafeteria cook, you could be a janitor, you could be a classroom assistant. So I do encourage you to look into that. If you decline a work study job, I can assure you that the campus will not suddenly offer you more grant money. They will simply tell you, if you don't want to work, you can take out a bigger student loan if you need money. So yes, it's good to always accept it. If you're offered it, it opens up a lot of doors for you.
Okay, and then one final question. And it sounds like can you hear me okay?
Sort of, yes. Keep talking.
Okay. So from Megan, not
Not our Megan?
From a student named Megan, do you think it is more worthwhile to apply for many low amount scholarships or a few high amount scholarships?
Oh, excellent question. I'll tell you what I tell my students searching for scholarships. One $5,000 award is the same as 10 $500 awards. You just might have to fill out a few more applications for those little ones, but often little scholarships are avoided by a lot of students. They don't like the amount. They go, that's too much work for just $400. But look at it this way. If it takes you 10 hours to get a scholarship of $400, you just made $40 an hour. And I have very rarely made $40 an hour in my entire career. So little ones are often easier to get, less competition, because everyone in the world wants that $5,000 or $10,000 scholarship. So I really suggest an assortment, but don't spend a lot of time on a scholarship that pays $10,000 that's available to people worldwide, because your competitors are going to be in the thousands, maybe even a million. The $1,000 scholarship that is made by your local business, you stand a much greater chance of getting.
Okay, fantastic. So that's our first question.
Okay.
And sorry, I'm just trying to figure out where this feedback is coming from. So that was our last question. So thank you, Diana, for all of that information. And now we're going to transition back over to Emily, who is going to talk about balancing work and school as a student. So let me go ahead and pull that up. All right, and here we go. All right, take it away, Emily.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for participating. This will be the last presentation of Collegepalooza. So thank you so much for being on this virtual summer session with us. It's new to us, it's new to you guys, but it's great that we still get to have this information out for you guys to have access to. So let's go ahead and get started with balancing school and work. All right, so how much can you handle? When it comes to balancing school and work, you really want to make sure that you don't bite off more than you can chew. So if you're taking 18 credits and trying to do 2 jobs and want to be involved in like 3 or 4 clubs activities, it might become very, very overwhelming very, very soon. So know what you can handle. Prioritize. What is most important to you? As a college student, you're in college to hopefully achieve your bachelor's or your master's or whatever degree you're striving towards. So your education should be the most important thing to you. So sometimes your friends will ask you, hey, let's go out and party tonight. Or hey, let's go out for a late pizza tonight, but you have homework or you're studying for a big test that's coming up or you have a presentation you need to practice for. So knowing when to kind of say no and knowing that, okay, my school or all of these things, all of my responsibilities come first, and then I can make room and time for other things that matter as well. So always know what you can handle and what you think you can do to make yourself more successful. Alrighty, and finding a balance. So carefully plan your class and work schedule. What are those days and times for your classes? What are your days and times for work? Are there times when you have a class, but you are also scheduled to work? What are you going to decide? Are you going to decide to go to class or are you going to decide to call off for work? So kind of knowing ahead of time what your schedule is going to look like so you don't run into those kind of roadblocks of having to pick one thing over the other. You should have a nice balance of both things so you're not having to focus all of your time and all of your effort just on school or just on work. I know this can seem really difficult to do, but it is manageable. You just have to make a plan for yourself. So this is where, if you guys remember the College Freshman 101 presentation, figuring out your class schedule, if you are planning to only be on campus certain days of the week so you can work the other days of the week, or if you're going to have a balance between doing classes spread out through the week and also working, kind of managing those times for yourself. And also communicate. Communication is so crucial when it comes to balancing your school and work life. Talk to your counselor and talk to your employer. They'll be very, very understanding. Your counselor will help you find times in classes or help you with your schedule to make it more manageable for you, or give you resources on how you can better manage your workload if you're having difficulty with that. Or maybe it's your mental health that feels a little strained. You can get that help from your counselor in the school services. Your employer, if some of you had mentioned earlier on, one of our panelists, Bianca, had mentioned how important it is to have boundaries for yourself. And this also works in the workplace as well. There's going to be times when you're going to have to say no. You might have to find yourself taking some time off during your finals because you really want to make sure that you're studying and getting the best possible grade on your finals or the next big test or your presentation that you have coming up. Or knowing that, oh, maybe you can't work this weekend or take these extra shifts because you have homework that you need to focus on. So it's okay to set those boundaries for yourself, know when to say no, speak up for yourself, and ask for help whenever you need it. Okay. Another super important thing is to stay organized. So one of the best ways that you can stay organized is to keep a planner. So you can keep a planner on your phone. You can buy one of those cool calendars and hang it up in your room, or you can buy one of those portable planners that you can keep in your backpack or in your bag, wherever you go. So planners are going to be great because you can list all of your important dates. You want to input any important dates for your finals or your exam days. Also, make sure to section off the time for your vacation or things that you're excited about that you have coming up. You know, it's nice to see your work and play kind of reflect in your schedule. So you know that it's not just school, 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 and you never have anything exciting or any time just dedicated for yourself. So make sure to list off your breaks, your vacations, days you don't have school, things you're excited for, but also make sure to list when your upcoming assignments are on. Maybe you want to list your class times, your work times on your schedule, whatever is helpful for you. Also plan ahead, looking at your syllabus. Your syllabus is your student contract, your student commitment. It will outline your semester and give you a detailed description of the course and your assignments. So by looking at your syllabus, you'll be able to know when your assignments are due and keep track and keep an eye out for those important dates for your exams and finals and things like that. Also, designate a study space for yourself. So like we had mentioned earlier in the presentations, you might be living on campus in the dorms. You might be in an apartment with some friends or in a house, renting out a house with friends, or you might be living at home. But even when it comes to any of those situations, you need to have those boundaries for yourself as well and know that you're going to have to section off a place for your studying. So that place can be your focus zone, where you sit down and you know all that you're going to do for your studying and your homework, and that will allow you to optimize your learning. So you know that your study space isn't a space to be on Twitter, check Instagram, be on Snapchat. It's not a place to pull up Netflix really quickly, although you can give yourself breaks, but a study space that's designated strictly for studying will make you feel more bounded to that and know that, okay, I have to be responsible in this space. I need to study. I need to get ahead with everything that I need to do. And also don't procrastinate. So you'll have a calendar of everything that your schedule will include. And so you'll know every day that you need to put in work so you don't have to procrastinate, because procrastination is real and it's hard to get out of. So don't procrastinate. Stay on top of your work. And be dedicated. So make time for your homework. As college students, you have so much more freedom and so much more flexibility with your schedule and things like that. So you want to make sure that you allocate time for your homework. Your professors aren't going to be telling you every day, reminding you, hey, remember that you have this chapter reading or this essay due next week. So you have to constantly keep yourself up to date and remind yourself of all these important assignments, homework that you need to keep up with. And with that being said, if you find yourself getting caught up on a lesson, go ahead and start the next one, or get started on your readings. Get ahead of the readings, get ahead on assignments, do what you can, and that will help you reduce. And it'll also give you time to have more fun, give yourself some more free time. And be responsible. You will have to make sacrifices at times. You might have to miss out on weekend outing with some friends or things like that to study, get an assignment done, put in some extra hours at your internship or whatever it may be. But it will be worth it. It will be worth it in the long run. Also, don't fall into the money trap. Sometimes when you are working and also going to school, you see that as you continue progressing your job, that you're earning money, you might have gotten a promotion, it feels great, you feel in the groove of things, but that's not all that's available to you in life. You don't just have a job. Education is so valuable, and it is the one thing that will never ever be taken away from you. So if you're dedicated to your education, then be responsible about it and know that in order to also work and keep up with their education, you're gonna have to find that balance. And in the end, your degree will help you hopefully make some more money. So don't worry, it will all play out in the end. And remember your long-term goals. Remember why you decided to go to college in the first place, why you started this journey and this adventure for yourself. Maybe it's because your parents never got that opportunity to go to college. I know that for myself, I'm a first-generation college student, so that resonates a lot with me. Maybe you're going to college because you want to be the first in your family, or you want to set an example for your siblings. Whatever it may be, remember your long-term goals and stay dedicated to staying in college and graduating. All right. And also, when balancing school and work, you need to know when to take a break. So don't burn yourself out. Life isn't all school and work. Make time for yourself. Take a moment to breathe. Practice some self-care. Take time for your mental health. Reach out and talk to a friend if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. Your campus has great resources for counseling, so take advantage of that. Take care of your physical health. Make sure to get enough sleep. Make sure to eat and hydrate, because you can't be the best you that you can be if you're not healthy. And spend time doing what you like. I know it's really important to study, to work, to be a part of everything, campus, internships, all of that. But also, don't forget to give yourself some free time and do something that you enjoy, that you love, just to give your mind a little break off of the stress, and, just bring yourself together, recenter yourself so you can get back started on everything else that you've got going for you. And that is all. So if there are any questions, I can go ahead and answer them now. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in the summer sessions. And of course, please reach out to us at College Depot if you have any questions or would like to request an appointment. We are more than happy to be here to assist you all. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure presenting to you all.
All right, thank you so much, Emily. It doesn't look like we have any questions, so genuinely appreciate your perspective and that content. If there are any last minute questions, go ahead and type them up in the chat and we will respond to them. So that actually concludes our first virtual Collegepalooza. So I'm incredibly thrilled to have been a part of that, and thank you everybody for hanging in there, especially all of those. Seems like the majority of the people that started with us at the beginning also stuck with us to the end. So thank you so much, and also for enduring our couple of little technical glitches. Just a reminder, College Depot is a free full-service college access center. We're here to help you with anything and everything that has to do with anything and everything that has to do with getting you into college, paying for it, all of those types of things. We're here for you going forward. The majority of the students we help are currently in high school, but we also help current high school students. So anything, if there's other things you have questions for, it didn't get answered, just reach out to us. You can just request an appointment, tiny.cc/C request. Just fill it out. It should take like less than a minute, and somebody will reach out to you probably on Monday, since we are on the weekend, and we can help you. So we have our amazing team of advisors who are able to meet with you one-on-one to help you, of course, virtually with anything that you need assistance with. So feel free to reach out to us. You can also call us, visit our website. We mentioned scholarships, and so we have a fantastic scholarship page on our website, just over 700 scholarships, I think, available. However, right now we are in the process of updating that for the upcoming school year. It should be up to date, going through the first few months here by the end of the month. So check back often. And we also have additional summer sessions. So this is our most robust summer session. It has a lot of content, just because there's a lot to cover when you're for first year college freshmen. We have some more bite-sized sessions coming up. Of course, they are all virtual as well. So Essay Essentials, most of them are coming up this week. So Essay Essentials, so that's just going to deal, we talked a lot about scholarships. A key component to scholarships is writing an essay or personal statements, that kind of thing. So if you're trying to fill some of that financial aid gap, to find more scholarships, or you need additional scholarships to sustain your college career, then that's a great quick little 45-minute, maybe an hour session, going to some good stuff, and we'll actually connect you to one scholarship that you can apply for already here this month. And then scholarships of financial aid, we have that twice. So this is really beneficial for anybody who's currently in high school or looking to go back to college, or if you're just trying to figure out how you can continue to pay for your current education in college. Well, we're going to go into everything that has to do with scholarships, who offers scholarships, what do they look for, how can you be the most qualified applicant, and then other types of financial aid, which were alluded to here. So that should be about an hour coming up Wednesday, and then we'll offer it again on the 18th, which is a Saturday. And then we have two sessions that are in Spanish. So becas de ayuda financiera. So that's basically scholarships and financial aid that will be will be completely in Spanish. And then Caminemos a la Escuela. This is actually a completely brand new session that we have in Spanish for parents, and it's really designed for parents to understand how they can support their students and lead them on a path that will lead them to higher education. So if any Spanish speakers out there, or parents, it's really designed for Spanish speaking parents. And then you could see Essay Essential Scholarship and financial aid again. So all of this is free. It's going to be virtual. Just go to tiny.cc/CD events. And again, that's capital C, capital D events. So thank you again. I've said thank you a couple times, but genuinely appreciate all of our panelists for just making this such an amazing and fulfilling session. Thank you all for being our first panelists, and then also for all the students and parents out there that participated. Thank you for being making sure that this is such a successful presentation. Really appreciate your comments and questions, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions. We hope to see you virtually in the future. And that's going to be the end of our session. Thank you.